kicking back on this summer breeze. Welcome to Double K's Classroom. Class is officially in session.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Good evening, y'all. Good evening and welcome, to this week's edition of Double K's Classroom. This week's edition is very special to me for multiple reasons. First and foremost, it's because I get to talk about one of my favorite teams ever being in the Super Bowl, and heartbreaking because unfortunately I'm talking about their loss. And I am talking about Super Bowl 54 that just happened this past weekend between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. This was a game that for the first half looked like it was going to be a back and forth battle. And after the third quarter, looked like it was going to be dominated and won by the five-time champion San Francisco 49ers. And by the end of the game, it was won by the 15-4 Kansas City Chiefs. The first half was a sequence of big plays, conservative play calling, and random just defensive stops. San Francisco made a few defensive stops midway through early in the game that led people to believe Kansas City got the ball to begin, and their first drive was a 3-and-out. That led the 49ers faithful and the 49ers players, to gain some confidence. They carried them through the first half. Now, where things got kind of wonky was this. The 49ers had 3 timeouts left. They forced the 3-and-out with the game tied 10-10. They forced the 3-and-out with about a minute 30 on the clock. In that minute 30, or at the time, Kansas City ran the ball, did not get the first, was going to punt it. But for some odd reason, it was obvious to everybody that Kansas City was about to punt it, but for some odd reason, Kyle Shanahan does not call a timeout. Lets Kansas City run the ball, run the clock down, I believe something like 50 or 40 some odd seconds before they punt it. And then he proceeds to call a couple of run plays and doesn't call a timeout till it's like 3rd and 12 after the second run play. This peculiar play calling in the first half led me to just like, huh? Now, there was one good thing that came out of them getting the ball back in the first half, and that was the fact that they were able to go ahead and get off a big play that kind of carried some momentum into the second half of George Kittle catching like a 50-something yard pass down to like the 6 that would have eventually led to the 49ers leading at halftime 3-0 if not for Kittle getting called for offensive pass interference. Now, I'm not one to question refs, and I'm not one to ever blame refs, and so I do not blame the refs at all. But I have to say that this particular call of pass interference was one of the most ticky-tack fouls I've ever seen. And I agree with Mike Ferreira that, yeah, it definitely falls under the definition of offensive pass interference. But, like, Kittle had already gotten the separation by the time he kind of pushed on a dude's shoulder. So, in my personal opinion, I don't believe that Kittle's push caused the separation that allowed him to catch the ball. It was more like he kind of just brushed him off after he had already kind of beaten him. He had already gotten a little bit of separation. So that's about all I can really say about it, because like it was what it was. The refs called it. They didn't reverse it. They called it pass interference, and bam. Niners have to end up kneeling it and taking the 10-10 tie in the halftime. A combination of conservative play calling and an iffy call by the refs provided a situation that allowed Kansas City to not be down. Because say everything else goes the same, but that pass interference is a call and they get those 3 points. Then they're up 23-10. And as long as that's the thing about it. I can't even say that. If they get that 3 at the half, they still lose 23-31. So, but we'll get into in the second half of the show. We'll get into some of the reasoning and some of the things that happened in the second half that kind of pissed me off, because they were opportunities that the 49ers passed up to get the job done, to close them out. This was the first game this season in which I did not see the San Francisco 49ers close out the game hard with the defense. But Kansas City's a different beast. Andy Reid is a hell of an offensive coordinator and head coach, and Steve Spagnuolo did a hell of a job on the defense. But we'll get more to that as to where they did a hell of a job. But I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to take this time to go ahead and go to my commercial break, and then when I come back lesson of the day, I'm going to talk some of the funny-ass commercials that happened during this year's Super Bowl. You are listening to Double K's Classroom right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Interruption in progress. Now hijacking into ANS 2.0 immersion rig. Now simulating the amazing nerd show. Featuring comics.
And Batman's like, you're safe here and everything, but the Joker all of a sudden pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Movies.
People fight with lightsabers. What the hell do you want? I mean, in every one of these movies, there's a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna rewatch it a million times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me something more.
Wrestling.
That would be awesome. Oh my god, just a monster. Fans would be like, holy, what the hell's going on? What happened to Jericho?
Horror.
It starts off like any other like home invasion type of story, and then it just goes crazy.
And more.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And we are the Amazing Nerd Show.
Make sure to download us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
Tune in, folks. It's now time for Double K's Lesson of the Day.
All right, now getting down to commercials and the halftime show. Look, the commercials were, dare I say it, pretty damn good this year. Uh, they opened up with the fact that, and it killed me, the Tom Brady picture that he tweeted. That everybody was like, "Does this mean he's retiring? He's walking away from the game? Is he walking away from the Patriots?" And they're making all this noise. What's he doing? What's he doing? What does this tweet mean? Blah 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 blah. And it was a fucking picture for a Hulu commercial, for a goddamn Hulu commercial. Yeah, y'all heard me right. I didn't mumble. I didn't stumble. He did all that. People did all that hubbub for a goddamn Hulu commercial. I'll be damned. Anyway, so that was one of the first good ones. One of the best ones of the day was Jason Momoa. And he comes home. He's like, home is my sanctuary. And nigga takes off his muscles, takes off his arm muscles, and he's this skinny little dude. And he takes off his hair with like thinning hair, and it's great. Oh, it's great. I don't even remember what the commercial was for. I just remember Jason Momoa. But the commercial that opened up the Super Bowl, they went to commercial right before kickoff, and it was great because they had been hinting at it. They had been showing this kid doing this little run back and doing this little cuts and all this, and showing some greats talking to him. But they showed the whole commercial, and it's like this little kid. He catches the ball in New York, and he's running and he's running by all these greats, and he runs through New Orleans and Drew Brees. Like, I don't know where this kid's going, because if he's going from New York to New Orleans to fucking to California because he sees Joe Montana and Steve Young and Jimmy G and all that, and yeah, and this funny part where Joe Montana Steve Young turns around and goes, "Hey kid," because the kid runs past him, and Joe Montana turns around and goes, "Hey kid," to Jimmy Garoppolo. He goes, "Put those bags in the car." Joe showing his stroke, love it. But yeah, the kid runs all the way, and then they show the kid run up. He's getting followed by all these kids, and the kid runs up, little blonde like OBJ looking kid. And runs up, and he's at the stadium where the Super Bowl is being played. And he runs towards the stadium, and then he runs down the hallway, and it's all these Hall of Famers sitting there, all these legends, and they're sitting there, and then he hands the ball to one legend, I forget who it was, and then this lady hands him the ball. I think she, damn it, I can't forget who she's the owner of, but yeah, and then she hands him another football, and she goes, "You know what to do with it." And then he goes running out the tunnel, and then it flashes to live at the stadium, and the kid comes running out the tunnel. It's the actual kid from the commercial with a bunch of other kids, and they're getting the TV, and they're getting the crowd hyped, and they hand the ball to the referee. And yeah, it was pretty tight. Like it was one of the best opens for the Super Bowl I've seen in a long time. So those were some great commercials. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck for remembering some of the other ones, so I'll move on to the halftime show, which was Shakira and fucking J-Lo, and what I could only hope whatever woman I end up with looks like at 40 and for 43 and 50, because damn, Shakira is still fine. Damn, J-Lo still fine, can still move it. Like, y'all, man. And if you was offended by that halftime show, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Like, cause that show was amazing. I was completely happy. Chris Rock. Chris Rock. I forgot he was in this Facebook group commercial. Anyway. But yeah, like, it was pretty sick. It was pretty sick. It was a nice little set of commercials in the halftime show, like I said. It had a lot of Latin flavor to it. Of course it did. You got J-Lo and Shakira in Miami. Come on, y'all. I'm surprised Pitbull didn't end up on stage. I'm glad he didn't. But I'm surprised he didn't either. Because Pitbull is about as Miami as they come. He even performed at WrestleMania when it was in Miami. So, overall, I got to give the Super Bowl commercials and the halftime show an A to A+, because I think that J-Lo and Shakira killed it, and I thought that there were a lot of good commercials that came out of this year that were just funny. That were just funny and good to watch. So I don't think it was the best year. Well, yeah, I think it was the best open, but I don't think it was the best year of commercials. But it was a good year of commercials. So yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna go ahead and sign and let y'all listen to some podcast commercials, and then we're gonna get back to talking about this Super Bowl.
Tune in, folks. It's now time for Double K's Lesson of the Day.
You are listening to Double K's Classroom right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled D8, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
Game ticket, $50. Hot dog, $8. Team store item, $25.
I told him I can beat him with one hand tied behind my back, with some glasses on, with one eyelids out, with some flip-flops on in the rain.
Haven't you listened to someone's dumb sports opinions? Worthless. Some people shouldn't talk sports. For everyone else, there's the Unspoken Podcast, available on most podcasting platforms, and on the web at theunspokensportspodcast.weebly.com.
All right, and I'm back. So, now let's talk about this second half. It was a tale of two quarters. Like you say it was a tale of two halves, it was a tale of two quarters in the second half. The 49ers defense dominated Kansas City in the third quarter, while the San Francisco offense got rolling. Jimmy Garoppolo got a few of his yardage, and Mozart and Coleman went to work. They were able to get a 10-point lead. They were up 20-10, cruising. And then the fourth quarter happened. I really can't tell you what happened in the fourth quarter because, I watched it and I can't tell you what happened in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes happened in the fourth quarter. You could say that. He only went for 286 yards. I remember seeing multiple people saying, experts saying, Mahomes was going to go off for 400 yards. He barely went up for three quarters. They kept him in check. They held him to 10 points. Damian Williams went off for 104 yards, one touchdown. But a lot of it came on that, he only had 60-something yards at the point in which he rattled off that one carry that got him the touchdown. Mahomes went 29 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill went for 105 yards, but they kept him out the end zone. Sammy Watkins went for almost 100 yards, same thing. But Kelsey and Williams, I didn't see that Williams might have been MVP. I don't think he got robbed. I thought Patrick Mahomes deserved it because without Patrick Mahomes, they don't even come close to winning that Super Bowl at all. So, with that being said, I have to say it like this: I give all the credit to the Chiefs. They made a comeback. They closed out a game that the San Francisco 49ers did not. And I am thoroughly disappointed with my 49ers, but that doesn't mean I think that their window is closed, because I definitely think that they are in year one of a 5-year window. Hold on, sorry, I got caught up in watching. Let me pause this NXT so we can get through this last part. But yeah, they they just dominated them. The Chiefs went out there and did what they do. They scored 10 points or 21 points in the fourth quarter, something no other team had done on the 49ers at all in this season. Put up that many points in the fourth quarter, yet alone in a game. Kansas City was a defense or offense that was just hard to stop, but they did force Mahomes in. And here's where I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes that the 49ers made. They forced Mahomes into 2 interceptions, both in the second half. The first one they were able to turn into 7 points. The second one they couldn't. They couldn't even turn it into 3. And see, that's where I think momentum started to shift, when he threw that second pick and they weren't able to do anything with it. Now, I give all credit to the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Frank Clark and them boys pinned their ears back and were rough riders in that fourth quarter and held San Francisco to nothing. But at the end of the day, if San Francisco can turn one of those drives into 7 and make it an actual drive, I don't think Kansas City's able to put up 21 in the quarter. Maybe 14, and they come close. And there was one play where Jimmy just kind of overthrew Emmanuel Sanders, and it would have been a touchdown because he had 2 Chiefs defenders trailing behind him, and Jimmy just overthrew him. So it was the 49ers' fault why they lost the Super Bowl, but Chiefs had their part. Chiefs did what they needed to do. They took advantage of a team that made a lot of mistakes in that fourth quarter, including one Jimmy G interception. So, overall, great Super Bowl. Overall, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations on winning, I believe, your second Super Bowl in your history. So, next week, I'm going to be back with Katie Double's fifth period music class. I haven't quite decided what next month or what this month is going to be as far as KD5P goes. So, you guys are just going to have to tune in and see. But thank you for listening to this week's edition, Double K's Classroom. Check out Double K's Classroom blog, and also check out the Double K's Classroom fan page on Facebook, or find me at Double K Double on Twitter. And get at me. Y'all have a good night. Oh, check out the other shows this week: Mr. Deacon's Experience, Now versus Then, Brick House, Inspire Radio, Cheap Pop Podcast on Sunday night, and then Lovely Radio on Thursdays, right here on the 4 Aces Presents Radio Network. Peace.